Hey everybody, and welcome to Thursday night. I'm looking at the sign. Thursday night at LDRS Creative. We're in studio for another live today. Very excited to be here. For those of you that always look for our 6 p.m. Reminder, I am so sorry. I sent it out a little late today, so my apologies for that. I was just trying to see who out there was awake. And see if people were looking for us or anything. Yeah, we'll go with that story. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So anyway, tonight we're going to be playing with a little bit of a mixture of the February and the March collections. I just kind of felt like, I don't know, it was kind of a free-for-all, is kind of it. But I went to both collections and I grabbed some things, and I grabbed some things that I hadn't played with, and I grabbed some things that I wanted to play with again. And so that's what we're going to do tonight. So anyway, I hope you guys have had a wonderful couple of days. And thank you for joining us tonight. I might be a little bit off. Today's one of those migraine days, so I'm a little medicated, but I'm here. A little medicated. It's cracking up. But I am. I'm a little medicated, but I'm here, so I may not be my, same. I may be a little off tonight, let's put it that way. Anna's just like, oh boy.
You're always a little off.
Per usual, if you guys haven't subscribed or followed us or something, please do so. That always helps us out and helps our presence and social media and everything. But it also makes sure that you guys get notifications when we go live and when we have an announcement or something like that. What else can I tell you? Per usual, we will have a giveaway at the end of tonight. So the only way we can select your name is if we know you're here. And the only way we know you're here is if you leave some sort of a comment. So please engage and get to know each other and ask us some questions if there's anything that you want to know, whether it has to do with crafting or, well, with anything else. And again, per usual, this is a safe, crafting place. We try and keep it nice and even keel, and we're going to try and stick to conversations about, crafting and keep it light and fun. And on that note, we're going to switch to camera 2, and we're going to get started. All right, here we go. Let me grab my glasses. Oh, I grabbed the wrong bag. See what I mean? A little off tonight. I'm showing him the start of my project already because I'm out of it. Okay, so this was the first thing that I grabbed. So from our March collection, we have Chloe Alpha. We have both Chloe Alpha stamps and Chloe Alpha dies. This is the Chloe Alpha lowercase dies. And I think I said on Tuesday night that I wanted to play with some alphabets, and so this is the one that was kind of my inspiration or my jumping off point. I usually have a jumping off point. I usually have something that I feel like working with, or some technique, or certain medium or something that kind of gets my creative thoughts going, and this was it for me today. So I started with the Chloe Alpha lowercase. I actually had lowercase and uppercase together, and I ended up with just this. I don't know why I settled on this. Sometimes some things feel better than others or look better than others, and this is where we settled. So 28 dies in this. This is a pretty big set. Let me show you this one. This is a 4x6 stamp set. This is a pretty big die set. You can see the difference in this. 28 dies all together. In the lowercase sets, you're going to see an exclamation point as well as a question mark. So that's what gives us the 28 letters plus the extra 2. On the back here, you're going to see what the dies look like. When you look at them this way, they're all backwards because the dies, the cut line is facing up. So on the back, we show you what the letters will actually look like once they're cut out. And I pulled these over because I ended up grabbing Berry Happy stamps and dies. We've worked with these once before, and this is also from the March collection. And I just felt like bringing these in. It's one of my favorite sets, and I think they're super, super cute. On the back, of course, we show you what the images look like colored up, and then we have coordinating dies And on the back of the dies, we give you the little map of which die goes with which stamp. Another item from the March collection, I think this was March, is the coneflower stencil, and I hadn't worked with this one yet. And I wanted a kind of a really pretty and soft background. Let me turn this over so you can see it better. A nice background to my card. I'm not really creating a scene, but I wanted a background. I didn't want a blended background, and I didn't want a stamped background, and I didn't want, you know, a bunch of dies with, you know, hills and clouds and all that, because I didn't want a scene. But I wanted something that was going to be really light and fun. And so I went with this, and I'm actually not going to be using it with multiple colors. I did it very monochromatic, and I wanted to see how that was going to look. And then from the February collection, I pulled the Pretty Pattern Slimline, and I ended up using these outer two most dies for the card today. So we're going to see how this works out. Per usual, I like to go to my scraps, and so I went to my scrap bin, and I pulled these out. I fall in love with different colors at different times in my life, and for some reason right now I'm really loving purple, and so purple felt right today. So I went to my little scrap bin and I grabbed these two purples to see what I could do with them. And in doing that, this is the Parisian purple. Parisian purple is, this is the hybrid ink. It is a wonderful, wonderful ink. The purple goes beautifully with this scrap piece of purple cardstock that I had in my bin. A hybrid ink is something that we can use. You know, you can use it for color blending. You can stamp with it and then color with Copics. You can stamp with it and then color with watercolors. Stamp on glossy surfaces, on fabrics, and so on and so forth. It's just kind of your all-around go-to ink. So this is the one that I chose, and then I also stamped my characters in Raven. So these are the two colors we'll be working with today. And let's see where we landed. I'm going to show you, I am going to do a little bit of actual crafting today. This is not an assembly only, but I'm going to pull out everything that I have prepped. Let's see if I can get these out. I have a little bag of tricks or goodies here. Uh-oh, they're stuck. There we go. Let's get those out. All right. So let's put those up there and out of the way. That's the alpha letters. I am doing a slimline, so excuse me. I have a slimline card base here. This card base, basically, I just took, this was done from my Nina Classic Crest white cardstock. And I just took this straight from a letter-sized piece of that. And so this is already 8.5 inches across. And then I just cut it to 7 inches and scored it at 3.5. And that's where we are with that right now, if anybody wanted to write that down. This is just a little white card topper that I'm going to build my card onto. So it's the same size as that in that it's 8.5 by 3.5. And so then from that purple scrap paper that I had, I grabbed my Pretty Patterns Slimline. This is the outermost die, and I cut a beautiful backer from that. I don't know if you can see this or not, but my little scrap piece of paper had a little cut in it. Alan, can you go to camera 3? And this is where scraps kind of come in, and this is where I just say, you know, I'm going to overlook it and ignore it. I'm just going to, you know, tape this down and adhere it anyway. But I don't know, can you see how that's cut right there? I didn't have a section of my scrap paper that was long enough that didn't have some sort of a cut in it. So I do have a little bit of a slice in it there, but I don't even care, and I don't even know if anybody's even going to notice. But you can see that the slimline die that we have is actually 3.25 by 8.25. And that's why I went 1/4 of an inch larger with both my card topper and my card base, so that I would have that little bit of a frame around it. And then I used the second die for the next piece. I'm going to show you how I did this, though. So we're going to do a little bit of very simple stenciling. This is just a little scrap piece of paper that I keep on hand. This piece right here is from my Strathmore Bristol. You guys haven't seen me pull this out in a little while because I haven't done any color blending, but this is my go-to whenever I'm going to do color blending. You can see what the whole thing looks like here. 300 series, Strathmore Bristol. Bristol Smooth Surface. This is, in my opinion, the best paper for color blending. I will have to trim this down to size because it is quite large, but here's a piece right here. I'm going to trim this down to 3.5 inches. There we go. And then this is my leftover. I pop that back into the little pad of paper that I have there. You can see the difference in the color. Looks like I got a little something on there. That's all right, it's going to cover anyway, probably makeup. All right, let's see. So now I have my Parisian purple, and then let me show you these. These are going to be coming out soon. I think I already showed you guys. See my little blending brushes. These are the LDRS Creative Blending Brushes. These have arrived. These are going to be released in our next collection. That's going to be coming out in just a few weeks. They do have the black handle that I like because it's not going to get all dirty. They have the beautiful soft white bristles, white brush top. They're like little foam-like bristles. They're wonderful. They're so pretty. And I love them in white because it makes it easy for me to see the colors that I have. So I'm going to get a beautiful rainbow of colors in the brushes. It's going to be so pretty. So you're going to look for these. We're going to sell these in, they'll be sold in sets of 4. And I love them. I think they're so pretty. So the first one that we're going to play with is going to be, this is the Parisian purple. I'm going to get my stencil out. Let me put my little pieces aside here. This is my coneflower stencil. You can see on the back what it looks like if you color it up in multiple colors. But I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm going to keep it really light and airy. I'm going to pull the whole thing out of here. It's actually kind of, listen, it's adhering to the backer card because I sprayed it with my Pixie spray. This is what I use. This is from iCraft, actually from Thermoweb iCraft, I guess it is. So I've already sprayed that because I was playing with it, and then I just put it back on the backer card. Now you can see that this stencil is 6 by 6, and the card that I'm working with is actually 8.5, but I don't care about that. I'm just going to place this over the top of it. Let me move this down a little bit. I like to leave a little bit off to the side here in case I need to brush off with my color on my brush. I'm going to get the Parisian purple here. See if I can get all this on camera a little bit. Maybe up here is better.
Stay on 3? Or?
Yeah, we can stay on 3, I think. All right, so I like to brush off just a little bit. And I'm going to go right over the whole thing. I'm not going to worry about whether or not, you know, it's the center of the flower, because I just want to just give it a beautiful light and airy color in the background across the entire thing. This is a really soft color, so I don't want you to think that the color's not going down. It is. Let me lift this up so you can see. See how pretty that is? It's just gorgeous. Very, very light. I'm actually doing a little bit lighter right now than I did on my initial sample. Now, I'm not going to go up to the edge there because we have a straight edge with that stencil. This is how I like to extend my stencils. Now, I might have some areas that are a little bit darker than others, and I might go a little bit lighter in some spaces. So let me pull that up. Look how pretty that is. Isn't that gorgeous? I'm going to slide this over now, and notice I have an uneven edge there, and that's what I want. So I'm going to lay the stencil back over it, and I'm going to cover up what I just did. So I'm extending beyond it, beyond where I just colored it. Press this down. And now I'm just going to start stenciling again and just lightly blend into where I just laid color down. Now it's probably not going to be seamless, but I don't think it's going to matter. You know, I do have characters that I'm going to be putting down on here too. I have the alpha that's going to go on here as well. So I'm going to be laying things, you know, in that area. Lori is saying, what kind of paper do you recommend for blending? This, I will show you that in just a moment. Again, it's the Strathmore. Let me finish this up and I'll bring that paper right back out again. Oh. This is the paper. It's Strathmore Bristol Smooth Surface. You can get this in different sizes. We do have this in the store. I typically always have the 9x12 because that means I can cut it down to whatever size I want, including a slimline. But Strathmore Bristol Smooth Surface, that's very important. Strathmore has a lot of different papers. This one is going to be slightly off-white. It's not going to be as bright white as the Nina, but I'm doing color blending, so I'm adding color over the top of it anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me if it's not as bright as the Nina. So let's see where we are with this. So pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? I just think it's absolutely beautiful. And, you know, this is the area where I actually, you know, blended them together. But, you know, you can see how we've got flowers going into leaves here. I mean, everything, the way that this stencil is designed, the leaves and the flower petals are kind of, you know, going like this anyway. So it doesn't create a really hard seam there. So you really can't tell where the start and where the end is of that. So I think it's just beautiful. Gorgeous, gorgeous stencil. And I think it's a beautiful backdrop. So that is the really simple blending that I wanted to show you. And then I took that, so let me put this back down here. It's a little sticky on the back side, so I want to lay that down so that I don't get fuzz and stuff on it. Set that aside. But I took it and I went to my Pretty Pattern Slimline and I used that second die that's right there. It has a cut line on the outside and then it has that beautiful stitching. And then all I did was laid that down into the center here and I cut it. And then here is what I ended up with right here. So you can see the really pretty stitching. I don't know if you can see, yeah, there we go. If I tilt it, the light catches it. It's got beautiful stitching there. You can see how it fit right into the center there. Actually, that looks really pretty when I layer the darker one over the light. So, you know, I was a little more heavy-handed when I did my first one than this second one. I'm going to set this second one aside because I'm probably going to use that. I think it's gorgeous and I'll use it for something else. So I'm not going to die cut that one. I already have this one die cut, so I'm going to work with this. And let's see, I always like to put things away so that I don't lose anything. So I want to get that back into its little home. Next up, oh, and let me show you how this is going to fit. So I showed you the first two pieces here already. This one is going to layer right over the center just like that. Isn't that so pretty? And I love this gorgeous, it's just such a beautiful purple. I don't know, I'm really hooked on purple these days. So we're going to set that aside. My little Berry Happy, this was a little scrap piece of my Nina Classic Crest Solar White cardstock. I just grabbed a little scrap piece of it and I stamped out a bunch of these characters and I started to color them. And I just wanted to keep it really light and airy. You can see how I stamped this little bear twice, and when I did it, I didn't have the paper lined up right the second time. I didn't put it back into the corner, so the lines got a little bit fat. So I just put an X through it so I know not to bother coloring that one, and I also know not to cut that one out. So that's why you have an X through that. So I've already colored up these two little bunnies and this little bear. And I thought I would go ahead and finish coloring up these other two here, just to show you how easy I colored them, how nice and simple. So I have just a little handful of colors here. Usually I have like a big, huge, group of markers, but because I'm going really light with this and really, like really simple with the coloring, I didn't grab a lot. I did grab, in terms of my Copics, I grabbed some gray. I decided to make the characters I wanted them to be white. And so I'm giving them just little gray shadows on the characters. And because this purple, this is how I decide which ones I'm going to use. Because, I've got the C grays, which are, the C stands for cool. That's a cool gray. That means it has a blue undertone. Your W's are your warm gray. That means it has like a brown undertone. Then your neutral is like a real, traditional, it's your real classic, black. All right, it's a version of a real black that doesn't have any blue. It doesn't have any brown in it. So that's going to be like your truest gray. That'll be your neutrals, or your ends. So because the purple is a cool color, has blues in it, blue undertone, I went with a cool gray so that I knew that they were going to look really pretty together. So I grabbed C00, C1, and C3. And I'm going to start with my C00. I'm going to work on this little bear here. And I'm just going to start, I always go light to dark whenever I color. It's how I learned to do it. It doesn't mean it's the right way. It's just the way that I do it. It's where I'm comfortable. If you're more comfortable starting, dark to light, then by all means do that. So right now I'm just kind of marking off, a little bit of like where I want some shadow to be, because these guys are going to remain white. So I'm not going to put a lot of shadow on them. This is his little hand here. I want a little bit of color underneath him. So that's really all I need for a C0. I'm going to go up to C1, and I'm going to go back over those same areas, and I'm just going to add a little bit of a darker color in there, and I'm going to use less than I did the first time around, less than I did with the C0. But I'm going right back to the same areas. And this is just going to kind of round him out and bring him to life a little bit, so he doesn't look quite so flat. All right, just that little bit in the back of his head here. Just bring in a little bit of color here. What?
What was that kid's book about the flat kid?
The flat kid in a children's book?
Something?
What?
Remember, it was a kid who was flat?
A kid was flat?
Yeah, it was a kid's book.
In a book?
Yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about. All I can think of is Harold and the Purple Crayon right now when you say that. But he wasn't flat. All right, so now C3, I'm going to come in with this, and I'm literally just dabbing in a tiny little bit of this just to accentuate some of the darkest areas. What?
Flat Stanley.
Flat Stanley. I don't remember that book. Did we read that book when Keaton was little?
So.
I don't remember Flat Stanley. Does anybody else remember Flat Stanley? Is Alan making this up? Okay, so I've added that in, and now I'm going to soften those edges. I'm going back to my lightest color, which is my 00. And I'm literally just going to soften that a tiny bit where I added the C3. PO. No, just C3. Sorry. All right. Just a tiny little bit. But you can see how now, just with that little bit of shading, he doesn't look like a Flat Stanley. I think I will remember that for forever.
Got it.
Elizabeth got it? Okay, so now I grabbed some reds so that I could do, because we have this, they're holding apples, And so I needed some R's, I needed some reds. So I have an R30, R30, and then 32 and 35. I also used the R30. Let's go like that. I think I was putting them up here, wasn't I? Sorry about that. R30. I also have this color like on their cheeks, and I have it on this little guy's nose and in their ears. So I'm just going to kind of dab a tiny little bit here for his cheek. Just a little bit. Tiny, tiny little bit. But I used it all over that apple. That's 30. And this next one is 32. Dab in a little bit of that 32. And I'm going to leave one little spot that's going to be lighter right there. I don't know if you can see that. We're kind of zoomed in as much as we can go right now. And then the next one is 35. Go up into the darker areas and leave a little bit of a area open in the middle there. That's going to give us a little bit of a highlight. And then with that highlight, I'm going to go back in with my 30. And that's going to kind of pull some of the red into that. But I think it blended it out a little too much for my liking. So I'm coming back in with 32 to add a little more back, and then I am going to add a little more of the red. And sometimes you have to play with these if you blend it out too much. So it's just 35 again. I do want the apple to look red, right? And I'm just going to leave that little bit of pink kind of highlight there. For this little guy's nose, I've already got the R30 down, but I want to brighten it up a little bit. So I'm going to put some 32 in there just to brighten it. Let me get his too over there. I don't want his nose red. I think that would look weird. And then for the little leaf on the apple, I pulled a G43. And I'm just going to kind of color that whole thing in. So now we have this little bird to contend with, and I'm going to keep it very light. I'm going to go with the same colors. So I'm going to pull my grays again. This is my C00. Just add a little bit of color onto him. His little underbelly here and his little legs. But I'm going to keep like his chest nice and white. So that is 00. This is C1. And now I'm going to try and keep that color kind of on the underside of the wing. Up his little underbelly there. Underside of that wing. And on the face a bit. It's just going to kind of round him out and make him a little fuller. And then C3, tiny bit. Underside of the wing, little belly. A little bit on the face and right here where it comes down and kind of to his neck. So we're keeping him nice and white, and then I'm going to blend that out a little bit with my 00. I'm barely touching down. I'm literally just putting a tiny, tiny little bit of the tip of the brush down just to round it out a bit. Let me get this little pocket right here. There we go. So there's that little bird. Isn't he adorable? I want a little bit of color right here. And this. There we go. Little tail feather. So he looks like he's coming in for a landing. He's so cute. All right, so Mr. Allen is going to die cut these for me. So let me get these lined up. Alrighty. Really easy. If you're not sure which die goes with which character, you can see on the back. You know, because sometimes when you do this way.
When you've been drinking?
Yeah, when you've been drinking or when you're on migraine medication or, you know, something like that. You know, sometimes when you pull them off of the backer card, you can't necessarily tell where they go. Now, I don't know if I'm going to be able to fit all of these characters or not. We'll see. That one goes there. And then him. Is it him, I think, maybe? Yeah, I think it's that guy there. Alrighty. And here is my tape. You are going to see me lay a lot of tape down because I like to make sure, you know, after coloring for minutes and minutes, I want to make sure that the dies don't move. So I will oftentimes put enough tape down so that 2 pieces of tape get on each character somehow. Just kind of reinforcement. Okay. Love when the dies are hollowed out so you can see through them, and you can, it helps you to see the characters and how they line up inside the die. So you can see kind of the edges of it. So you know you've lined it up well. And this is a good spot to take a pause, you know, and do this part a little bit carefully so that you know you have it lined up. You know, and keep in mind, and you know, people will say, Angie, you use a lot of tape. Well, I do use a lot of tape, and I do it because I would rather use a lot of tape and make sure that these aren't going to move. And when, you know, when they go through the die cutting machine, you know, the die cutting machine, those have rollers on them. It has a tight sandwich often. So when it goes through, it can push your dies, and then your die can move a little bit off of the character. And I would rather waste a little bit of tape, you know, and than have to restamp, recolor, you know, or not be happy with my project because I didn't put in that extra little care to make sure that I had my characters taped in place well. All right, I know it seems like a lot.
We're preventing a meltdown.
Yes, exactly. We're preventing further frustration. There we go. A meltdown. Now, Alan, if you will, this is something I do also. So I have this ready to go. This is going to go on my plate. I will lay this down, and then I will always press and hold like this. I will apply extra pressure as it's going through the machine. Because I want to make sure that these plates are not going to shift and slide as the machine presses and rolls on it. So let's go to this now while Alan is dealing with that. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get my foam on the back here. Once I find my foam. Here's my scissors, my favorite scissors. Now, you know, you can see this, you know, it kind of has a little bit of a wobble or a little bit of a bend to it, just because when it goes through the machine, it is a tight sandwich.
You keep mentioning sandwich, and I'm starving.
So I'm going to put that all the way across the length of it because I want to make sure that it lays nice and flat. Make sure that's pressed down there well. I know this is a lot of foam. There we go. Perfect. You know what I'm going to do before I do that? I'm going to put this piece on here because this one is going to have I'm going to tape this one down, and I don't want to, because this piece back here is larger than this piece, I want the tape to go on the smaller piece. That way I don't risk getting tape outside the area of the purple. All right, let's see if I can line this up without getting my head in the camera. You guys don't want to see my head today. Although the roots will be the same color as the rest because I went and got that done today. Bonus. Alrighty, here we go. Alright, so then I have my foam on here, so I have this lifted up really nice and pretty. Let me look in the camera and see if we have even positioning all around, and it looks fairly good from what I can tell. I'm going to just gently lay that down. I think it looks good. Now I'm going to press. Isn't that pretty? That dimension is just gorgeous. And I love on that pretty pattern slimline die, those little kind of leafy, you know, that leafy pattern on the outside. It could be little hearts. But it looks so pretty when you have a different color behind it. And with this one, I think it's just great with the white because now we have white behind the purple. And then here we have, again, that beautiful purple and the white with the Parisian purple ink, which matches so perfectly to the paper. I love it. It is so gorgeous. Gorgeous. I'm so happy with it. All right. So here we go. Alan. Alan gets a hand. Looks like everybody stayed in position. All right. So now we're going to peel this up.
Well,
We'll see. We shall see. If it's messed up, Alan might learn how to color tonight. I'm going to do this slowly because I don't want any damage.
pull straight up. So.
Alan's teaching me how to pull tape off. He's so sweet. Did I tell you the story of how he taught me how to pick up dog poop? Did I tell that story ever?
I think you told it too many times. I'm telling you from experience that you pull this tape straight up.
Back at our other house, our dog was trained to go to the bathroom in one specific little area of the backyard. Yes, we did that, and it was actually easy to do. So you only had to go to the one area to clean up. And so I went out there to clean up one day, and my wonderful, loving, supportive husband came out and stood and watched me doing it. You know, and I had like one of those, you know, you put the baggie over your hand kind of thing, you know, right? That whole thing, right? And, malfunction.
Did you pull straight up?
Malfunction, Will Robinson. See? Watch. I think we just decided which character I'm not using. Look where the die is. Look where it is. Oh, no. Malfunction. The die slid. Oh, that really stinks. He's such a cute little bear. All right, so we're not using that bear.
Want me to fix him?
You can't fix him because half of him is over here. All right, well, that made our choices easy. So back to my story. So my husband comes out, Alan comes out to watch me, not to help, mind you, to watch me picking up after the dog, cleaning up the area. And then he proceeded to give me instruction because he didn't think I was picking up enough with one, you know, with each bag. And he proceeded to instruct me on how to properly pick up dog poo so that I could maximize the amount that went in each bag. And so now I continuously remind him of that whenever he's trying to teach me something that is absolutely ridiculous and, you know, trying to teach me how to better do something that is ridiculous. And I will say to him, is this you once again trying to teach me how to pick up dog poo? And he laughs. And then he shuts up. So that is how you turn a negative into a positive. That's how we roll. Okay, sorry. I will try never to tell that story again.
Especially while people are eating.
Especially while people are eating. All right, so here's my little characters. Now, next up, what I haven't used yet was my inspiration for this entire card. And the inspiration, of course, was the Chloe Alpha lowercase dies. And so I thought it would be really cute, excuse me, to have this card say friends. And that's where these two purples came in. I just happened to have this, and I thought, boy, I'm going to see how these are going to work if I layer these up. And little pieces of like paper trimmings. If I layer these up, if I just put the white letters on here, it's really not going to show very well, right? But I thought if I cut it, all the letters for the word friends, out of both the white and the purple, then look what a difference it makes when I layer them together. It just really makes it pop. So I think it's really pretty. So I've already started with some of the letters, getting these layered up. Where's the I? Here we go. E-N. F-R-I-E-N. Then we have the D and the S. And I'm just going to show you, this is my little scrap piece of paper, what I do to make these as perfect as I want them to be. I have a little pin. Remember all these little pins that you would use on your cards just to add a little something way back in the day? Well, this is what I use them for now. I actually use them to pop out the little pieces if they get stuck in my dies. But I'm going to use it in this case. I'm going to grab the D. So here's the two Ds, right? I am going to go around this D and make sure I don't have any of those little slivers of paper, because sometimes when it, it'll cut and it'll leave just like little bits, and that drives me nuts. So I just kind of pop all those out. I'm going to put some adhesive on the back side of the D. And then of course that gets everywhere, right? So I have all this, I don't know if you can see it or not, I do it on here. See that excess in there? Drives me crazy. So I use my little pin to go into each of these holes. And yes, it is tedious, but I don't want little sticky bits of adhesive, I would call it a dangling participle. I don't want little dangling pieces of adhesive everywhere. And now if you see here, I very carefully wanted the shadow to be lower and to the right. And so I'm going to lay this on here, have the adhesive on the back, and I'm going to lay this on here just a little bit so I get that same amount, roughly, approximately, lower and to the right for my shadow. Try and keep it straight. There we go. So there's the D, all done. And now we'll do the S. The S does have a smaller side and a larger side. The smaller side is going to go up. It doesn't look like I have any little shavings or anything here that I need to fix. This one does. Get the tape off of there. It does build up, so I just slide it off of there with my fingernail. All right, so let's go ahead and make sure we get enough tape on here so that it's going to be on all the little pieces, all the little, bits of the S. But I do want to get it out of those little holes. There's nothing worse than, having a card that has little bits of adhesive stuck everywhere. See all those little shavings that come out? Those are those little shavings that I'm talking about. Let's make sure I have this going in the right direction. And it looks like I do. Yep, I do. And so I'm going to lay this on here and just try and have that little bit of shadow. Oops, let me fix that. To the right. There we go. There we go. That's all there is to that. A little bit tedious, but worth it. Now, the most important part of this card, of course, is making sure that we have each of these letters positioned properly. I am going to put a little bit of foam on the back of each of them, because I want to have them popped up. And I'm going to put foam on the back of these little characters too. These little bits of foam are going to be kind of small, so bear with me here. I love this foam. If you're new here, it is Scotch foam. It's about 1/16 of an inch in thickness, about 3/4 of an inch wide. It is not going to make your scissors gooey. It also is thin enough to allow you to control the thickness of the dimension on your card. So if you want to just have a single on your card, you can. Single layer of this. If you, where's my pen? Oh, let me try and do it. So I would hold this down, but let me try it with my fingernail instead. If you want to double it up because you want it a little bit thicker, then you can absolutely do that as well. Let's see if that's showing. Perfect. Excellent. Make sure you don't slice your fingers. You also have to make sure this is always going on the purple side. Little bits and pieces that can all be used to make sure that's not showing through. Move that over a tiny bit. There we go. Yeah, and this part is tedious, but again, these little tedious bits are worth it. Taking your time. When you spend all this time on it, you want to make sure that it's what you want it to be, right? Look how pretty. There we go. Oops. Alrighty. A tiny little piece here, and then just a little bit on the loop. And then I think we're going to be good to go. So this other little piece, I always store my little bits on top of my foam roll because I will use them. I rarely throw away any foam. It has to be something that I've pulled up, you know, because it didn't work out well. You know what? I want some little piece under that, the tip of this F. Tiny little piece, just to offer it up support. There we go. So, you know I talk about this a lot, but for anybody who is new, one of the big reasons I love this foam, this particular foam, and this is the reason why this is the one I carry in the store. It is thin. It's a 1/16 of an inch in depth. And that makes it so that I can have a couple of layers of foam. So I have one layer right now between these two pieces, right? So I get the dimension that I want. And now I can have another layer of foam on my letters here. And I can do that without making my card really bulky. Here's the R. Tiny little bit of space in between them. I love these letters. Just look at it. It looks like such a crafty little little design. Oops, those are a little too close there. There we go. Let's see, look in the camera. Oh, I think that looks pretty good, but I'm going to move it tiny, tiny little bit. I love those little leafy little holes in there. They're so cute. Here's a little dot for the eye. Do we have any questions from anybody, Alan?
There's no foam on the S. That's not it.
Ooh, did I miss one? No foam on the S? Oopsie.
That's the rumor. And
all right.
Everyone agrees with me.
Everyone agrees with you?
Do sheets like a man. Imagine
what?
all the extra crafting time people would have.
If what?
If they washed sheets like a man.
What does that even mean? Wash sheets like a man.
Take it off the bed, washer, dryer, back on the bed.
Okay. In my house, I would have thought sheets like a man would have been having your wife do it. Just saying.
Not in this house.
Mm-hmm. It's the only way it gets done.
That's not true.
You're so funny. You are funny. Funny. Okay. All right. Thank you guys for noticing that I didn't have any foam on my S. Oops. What did I just do? All right, perfect. Okay, F-R-I-E is next. Yikes. Ba-da-dum-bum. No, too close. Maybe over a tiny little bit. Not straight. I'm looking at the little line for the E, the bottom part of it. There we go. E. This is something I think for these little bits, it is good to have either a little tool, which I don't have out, or to have a little bit of growth to your nails so that you can grab those little bits. F-R-I-E-N. What's next, everybody? Give me a D. D. This is where you go, gosh, I hope I'm spelling this right. Oops, a little piece came off. When you're a little bit loopy on migraine medication, don't always know exactly what's gonna happen. N, D. All right. Get these little bits. I get these little bits of paper off of here without moving the foam. There we go. Press that down first. There we go. And then let's make sure we have the S right side up because there is a smaller side that goes upright. And then, of course, I think this is the trickiest one to make sure that we have it spaced properly as well as kind of going straight up and down. F-R-I-N-D-S. So cute. Doesn't that look adorable? I love it. They almost look wooden. They're so cute. All right, so our little characters here need some foam as well, right? A little bear. We'll see if I end up using all of these. Wrong one. Goes on there. All right, I'm ending up with too many little pieces here. There we go. There. Then, let's see. And I'll put this little piece right down here to offer support. Let's see where these are going to fit. This little bird, I think, needs to go up here. Maybe he goes up here on top of the D. Or D, that's an N. I'm losing my mind. And the bird is coming in for a landing. How's that? Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay, that's what we're going to do.
What?
I'm putting a little bunny on top of one of the letters.
Someone said, I don't remember who, you could take that one that was cut wrong and like tuck it behind.
Yeah, you're right. That's actually a great idea.
I think that was Linnea, actually.
I think that was a great idea.
Linnea is so much better at this than you are.
I know, she's a wicked, wicked, wicked crafter. She's so good. Linnea is by far superior to me with this. She would have had like 5 cards done already. She's that good. I, on the other hand, am a bit of a slow crafter. All right, I'm going to set him on top of the N. Like he's reaching up for his little friend. So cute. And then he's going to fly. He's coming in for a landing. There we go. I think it's cute. I hope you like it. Now we need to put it onto this card base. Oh, that's not very straight. Like I'm doing it for the first time. I want some a little bit closer to that edge. Oops, a little bit closer up to what?
Remind you about a sentiment.
The sentiment says friends. That is my sentiment.
Is it?
It is. And then I will write. I'll write a note on the inside when I send it out. But yes, the friends is my sentiment. It's a word, so I'm going with calling it a sentiment.
Wouldn't you have to get some friends first?
Wow.
Or have friends first?
I thought you were on my side.
I'm sorry.
All right. There we go. It's done, and I think it's pretty. I like that.
I like that too. I love those letters.
I do too. I think they're really, really cute.
I like the uppercase, but
they're so crafty, and these are so spring and summery with those little leafy bits in there. It's just so pretty. I love it. And they actually look really, really great with the bits on the outside of the Pretty Patterns die. So I think that is just gorgeous. Yay! I love it.
Huh? 1 minute to spare.
1 minute to spare. All right, mister. Yep.
All right.
Hey, everybody. All right, so we need to get that picture. There you go. Gosh, I hope you like this. I really think it's so sweet and pretty. And it looks very much like I kind of envisioned it in my head. So I'm really happy with it. So thank you, everybody, for bearing with me through that. Okay. All right, time for a giveaway. I think we're going to give away the Chloe Alpha lowercase die set since that seemed to be the feature for tonight. So if Alan will give me a name, drum roll please. Diane Nieto, Nieto, Diane Nieto, hey, Nieto. That's kind of cool if that's how you say it. I am so sorry if I'm slaughtering your last name, but I'm doing my best, I promise you. So Diane, congratulations. You have won the Chloe lowercase alpha die set. All we need from you, please, is to send your name and your complete mailing address to customer service at ldrscreative.com, and that way we will be able to get this out to you right away. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yay, congratulations, Diane. Awesome. All right, everybody, that is a wrap for tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. I hope you enjoyed my card tonight. I really think it's pretty, and I just think it looks so springy, yet soft and beautiful, clean and simple. So I hope you guys, I hope you learned something or at least just enjoyed playing along or crafting along with me. So I don't know what I'm going to do next week, per usual. Every time I say that, I feel like Kimmel when he says, that there's no time for Matt Damon. I feel like because I say the same thing at the end every time.
We should do that.
We've run out of time tonight. We apologize to Matt Damon. We ran out of time. Anyway, I hope you will join us again on Tuesday, same time, same place. I don't know what I'm going to be working with, but I hope it will be fun, and maybe my husband will be nicer to me next week. All right. Bye, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us.